Hello, and welcome to Wellness Wednesdays, brought to you by CAPS. I am Crystal Allen-Joyner, and today I would like to talk about the topic self-care. The information that is provided to assist me in this talk today about self-care, the research has come from the Southern New Hampshire University, as well as a TED Talk video that I ran across from the Grand Canyon University. So what really is self-care, and why is it even important? Self-care is actually caring for yourself that includes anything that you do to help keep yourself healthy mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Now, while self-care, it sounds like it's pretty common sense, right? But did we know that the first thing that goes when we find ourselves in challenging situations, such as like school stress, life transitions, job loss, bad health, relationship issues, or even managing the COVID-19 pandemic, that self-care is the first thing that pretty much goes, because we're so focused on the stressful situations that we never take out the time to really pour back into ourselves mentally, physically, socially, or emotionally. When you take time to engage in self-care, did you know you actually begin to relieve the pressures of everyday life? It's like allowing yourself to get rest, okay? Sometimes it's a physical rest, sometimes it's a mental rest, but it could even be an emotional rest. This rest allows you to be able to get back to a healthy point where productivity is once again maximized. Did you know that the lack of self-care leads to burnout, depression, anxiety, even resentment, and it can also lead to other negative implications. So it's really important that we take care of ourselves. So let's just talk for a few minutes about self-care and who's been in charge of taking care of us all our lives. So listen for a moment to this scenario. So as a child, you have a parent. Parents are responsible for children, the upbringing, their quality of life so much, so to speak. Your parents, your grandparents, whoever your caregiver is, they're responsible for a couple of things. One of the things that they're responsible for, though, is to affirm us, okay? Telling us how great we are, we're doing a great job, keep trying, keep pushing. Those are the things that they're responsible for doing for us. Parents, grandparents, guardians, they're also responsible for meeting our needs, whether it's our physical needs, our emotional needs, even some of our social needs. They're responsible for that. They're also responsible for setting boundaries. The purpose of them setting boundaries is to keep us safe and protected in this world. So here's a good example. As a teenager growing up in a household, you may want to go out and go see your friend that lives down the street, and let's just say it's about midnight. And so even though you've got a friend that lives maybe 2 doors down from where you currently stay, your parent or your guardian might tend to say something like, no, you can't go, it's too late. You may or may not understand that, but in those moments, parents are there to set boundaries for us until we learn how to do it ourselves. But then something happens to us right around the age of 17 and 18. I wonder, can anybody out there guess what happens to us? I see your wheels turning. You're thinking, what is she talking about? Well, guess what happens? We grow up. And now, right around that 17 and 18-year-old age group, we are becoming the responsible bodies to do what? To affirm ourselves, to meet our basic needs, and to set boundaries. The same thing that our parents were once responsible for us, now we hold the responsibility to take care of those needs for ourselves. Well, that can get a little bit tricky because that's something that we've never done before. So when you think about it, think about a college student. When you come to college, you're separating from your family of origin, and now you're looking for a new family of choice, whether it's through your identity, whether it's through your relationships, or even through your development of your core beliefs. All those things you're now responsible for. And so the unique thing that all those things have in common with each other is self-care. You're going to be responsible for what that looks like for you. How do you maintain that balance? Well, here are some benefits I want to go over in regards to self-care. It's been clinically proven that self-care reduces or even eliminates anxiety and depression. It reduces stress. It even improves our concentration, and it minimizes our frustration and anger. It can actually increase our happiness and improve our energy. Also, it's been known to reduce heart disease, stroke, and even cancer. So I guess you're wondering, well, what can I do? Like, what am I supposed to do? What does self-care look like? Well, I'm glad you asked that question. Self-care, the first thing I want you to remember is it's all about you. So I know we're taught not to be selfish, but to be selfless. But there's something that's important that I want you to get from this particular Wellness Wednesday, and that is self-care is all about you. This is the time in your life where it's okay to focus on you. Things that may work for one person, it may not work for you. Self-care is something that you identify that will help you come back to a place of balance. And don't be discouraged. Like, if something previously that you used to do or participate in that helped you with self-care as a routine doesn't work anymore. The beautiful thing about life, as long as you continue to live, you're able to search and identify what works for you, and that will help you get back to a place of peace and a place of balance and rest. The thing about self-care, though, it has to be consistent. So you have to find something that works for you and that you're consistent about it. You have to be intentional about it every whether it's every day that you're doing it, whatever the routine looks like. In order to receive the maximum impact, you have to be consistent about it. So let me give you a little example. So even as a therapist, we are always talking about self-awareness and self-care. What are you doing for yourself? As therapists, we actually have to implement self-care. So think about, we're talking to clients every day about whatever issues the clients might have. We have to take care of ourselves as well. And that may look different for each therapist. For me, it could be walking in the house and taking 5 to 10 minutes to myself before I engage with my family. Or it could mean getting up early in the morning and exercising to kind of balance out my day and get me going so that I can be ready for my clients. Or it could mean taking a long shower at the end of the day with no distractions. So it just kind of depends on what works best for you. Now, remember, self-care doesn't have to be long and drawn out. It can be 5 minutes. It could be breathing. It could be breathing techniques. It could be getting some fresh air and vitamin D, changing your scenery. The goal is to be consistent about it, make it a routine and a part of your daily life. So I want to share with you how to build a personalized self-care plan. So this particular self-care plan was actually developed through the National Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. So I know what you might be thinking. This is not a discussion about substance abuse. But the reason why I'm sharing it is because the overall purpose of it focuses on wellness. And remember, your wellness is all about you. And so is self-care. It's taking care of you. So what they've done is they've come up with a couple of key areas, and we'll go over that during this Wellness Wednesday. So the first one focuses on your emotional wellness. So what does that look like? Say, for an example, as a therapist or as a student, I decide that I'm going to do something for myself, whether it's every day or every other day, that focuses on my emotional wellness. That's just for me. So what could it involve? It could involve me talking to someone, touching bases with a friend daily, or a family member, getting in touch with that person, kind of just going over my day. Or it could involve me doing some daily reflection, whether I'm journaling my thoughts, journaling about the day, what's going on in my life. Or even if it's not daily, remember you guys, it's a plan that you develop and you come up with. It could be, I don't know, every 3 days, or on Mondays or Wednesdays or Fridays. I'm going to always reflect and journal about the week. Self-care could involve, as it relates to my emotional well-being, it could involve me reading self-help books, or reading fantasy novels, or just reading for enjoyment. It could involve listening to some music. It could involve watching something on TV or watching something in social media to kind of help me with my mood that suits my current mood. Or if I'm in a bad mood, then it would be something that would change that mood right now to something that's opposite and something that's more positive. Or it could involve me taking a nap, or maybe a 15-minute power nap, or even laughing, being intentional about daily or every other day, finding things that make me laugh so that I can tap into that particular emotion. I hope this is making some sense out there to you guys as you're listening to this Wellness Wednesday. When we're thinking about building the personalized self-care plan, the other option is to think about your environmental piece. How can I use the environment to implement self-care as it relates to myself? Well, I can take a walk. Maybe I can say every other day I'm going to do a half a mile walk, or increase it over time. Taking in a breath of fresh air daily, being intentional about doing that. Getting that sunshine in my life increases that vitamin D, which also has been known to help with your mood stabilization. Or what about walking at night? As long as it's in a safe space, taking a walk across campus and just observing the night sky, just you and yourself, and being aware of what's going on around you. What about picking up litter? Being purposeful about seeing maybe some items and picking it up and doing your position as it relates to preserving the planet and recycling. Or even reusable products. Like I said before, recycling, cleaning up your space, or even redesigning your room and your space that you're currently in. That is considered to be self-care. You may come in your dorm room or your apartment and say, you know what, I'm going to take some time out this weekend and I'm going to change my bed around, or I'm going to buy some new linen, or I'm going to hang a different picture. And when I look at this picture, I may meditate on that picture every now and then to kind of just focus on me with no distractions. Another option is to think about the financial piece of self-care. What does that look like? Developing a financial plan. Yes, developing a financial plan even as a student. Trying to save. If you already save even more than you already are. Working on living your life on a budget, a workable budget. That is actually a way to implement self-care. Even cutting back on unnecessary purchases is an option as well. The next section focuses on your intellect. So intellectually, how can I manage my self-care? I can read. I think we talked about that earlier in a different section, but reading, listening to audiobooks, watching documentaries, anything that can help me intellectually, that will give me some more information so that I may be able to communicate that someday to someone. Completing a puzzle, tapping into your creative or artistic side. Try something new. Coloring. Coloring is another way to implement self-care. Drawing or even painting. Occupational is another option to consider as it relates to how can I, when I think about occupational, implement self-care. Well, it's finishing that degree. So if you're a freshman, you've already started doing that self-care because you've come here with a goal to start that journey. Or if you're somewhere in between finishing, whether you're a sophomore, junior, or senior, you're almost at the tail end, finish that degree because there's some type of gratification on the other side of that. That is your ability to be able to implement self-care. Remember, because it's all about you. Or putting together your resume, or even polishing your resume. Applying for a job is a way to implement self-care. Matters on what it is, a job or internship. Taking a task that you enjoy. So it could be a hobby, or it could just be something that brings you some enjoyment. Meditation is another option for you. Remember what I said earlier, it doesn't have to be long and drawn out, 5 to 10 minutes, but just being intentional about taking time out for yourself. What about physical? So physical, what can I do to help with my self-care? Remember, I mentioned earlier, as therapists, sometimes we may exercise. So physically, you can work out daily or run. Eating healthy, implementing yoga in your life. Or if you're on any type of medications for your mental wellness or even just your physical health, taking those medications as prescribed. That is a way that you are taking care of yourself and thinking about you and your wellness and taking time out and being intentional. That is like the word for the day. Be intentional about your self-care. Avoiding drugs and alcohol. Now, some people may feel like, well, I want to take a glass of wine at the end of the day. It's nothing necessarily wrong with it, but you have to pay attention to whether or not you're using it in excess, or are you using drugs and alcohol as a means to cope. So is that really helping you with your self-care? So that's going to require you to do some self-evaluation. Getting enough sleep. I know that everybody's college students and you just love to stay up all night long, but believe it or not, getting 7 to 9 hours of rest is your ability to take care of your wellness as well. It's important for your body to be able to be in a state of rest so that you will be able to be at your max capacity and be able to function and complete your day-to-day task. Even going to the physician, going to the doctor when you don't feel well. Pay attention to your body. Don't ignore some signs and symptoms. If you're not feeling well, take care of yourself. Put yourself first. Contact your medical provider. Reach out to them. Get on their schedule and go to the doctor and make sure that you're okay, because you want to make sure you can work and function at your best. And then lastly, as you build your personalized self-care plan, would be socially. How can I implement self-care as it relates to social? Well, be intentional about maybe meeting up with friends and family. Maybe even use it as like a way to reward yourself throughout the work week, whether it's in the middle of the week or on the weekends, that you say, hey, I'm going to hang out with some friends of mine, and that's my time to be able to engage, and you're getting enjoyment out of it. Keep in contact with old friends. Don't always wait for your old friends to reach out to you. I can only imagine how difficult it is sometimes, especially as a freshman, to come to a university. It's unfamiliar, leaving family members and friends and learning how to connect to new ones. But then don't forget about your old friends from back home. You be the one that's more intentional about reaching out to those individuals. Find out how they're doing. Find ways to volunteer. That helps with your social self-care as well. Giving back, it really does something great for you to be able to help other people that are in need. And remember to have fun. Engage in healthy social media. If you feel like you're spending too much time on social media, unplug from it. Research says that if you unplug either from an hour to 2 hours before you go to bed at night, it does help you rest better throughout the night. So I am hoping that this information that's shared with you today about self-care, you will consider it. You'll review the video and learn and identify ways to take time out for yourself, because ultimately it's all about you being your best self. So until the next time, I hope that everybody is doing well. And I do want to wish everybody well wishes as it relates to your finals that are coming up. Try to implement some of these self-care techniques, even before your finals. Consider taking mini breaks as you're studying. And until next time, you take care. Thank you.